They act normal around you, maybe even distant, but something is off. Their eyes linger a little too long. Their hands fidget when you're near. It's like they're trying to keep it all together while something inside them is slowly melting. In my years as a psychology expert, I've seen this happen more times than I can count. When someone's heart is overflowing, but their words stay silent, the body speaks instead. And that silence, it's louder than you think. People often try to hide these signs out of fear, confusion, or just plain denial. But emotions don't always ask for permission. They slip through in glances, gestures, even in the way someone breathes when you enter the room. In this video, I'm going to show you the real psychological signs that someone is secretly melting inside just by being near you. They're subtle, often overlooked, but once you learn to see them, you'll never unsee them again. Let's decode the unspoken truth, starting now. Sign 1. The gaze that tries to escape, but keeps coming back. There's something almost magnetic about the way their eyes behave. They won't hold your gaze for too long, but they can't seem to stay away either. You might catch them looking at you when they think you're not paying attention, and the moment your eyes meet, they look away fast, like they've been caught stealing something private. This is what psychologists call approach avoidance conflict. It's when someone deeply desires emotional closeness, but simultaneously fears being vulnerable or exposed. Their eyes betray the battle inside them. Part of them wants to dive in. The other part is terrified you might see too much. If their gaze keeps circling back to you, again and again, even in crowded rooms or casual conversations, it's not an accident. It's their subconscious reaching for you before their logic tells them to retreat. And that look, the one they try to hide, that's not just attraction. That's emotional intensity trying desperately to stay contained. Sign 2. Nervous energy. The fidget, the sigh, the hidden smile. They're trying to stay calm, but their body has other plans. Maybe they keep adjusting their sleeves, tapping their fingers, running a hand through their hair for no reason at all. It's subtle, almost unnoticeable, but it's there. A kind of restless energy that only seems to appear when you're around. Psychologically, this is called a displacement behavior. When someone feels emotionally overwhelmed, like butterflies, adrenaline, or even fear, the brain redirects that tension into small physical actions. It's a way of coping when emotions feel too big to express directly. And then there's the sigh, quiet but deep, or the smile they try to suppress when you say something simple. That half second where their guard drops and something warm flickers across their face before they catch themselves. These are not meaningless gestures. They're windows into a heart that's trying to stay composed while quietly falling apart in your presence. When the body starts talking, it's often because the heart has too much to say. Sign 3. They mirror you without realizing it. You lean in, and so do they. You cross your arms. A moment later, theirs follow. It's subtle, almost like a dance neither of you rehearsed. But here's the truth. They're not copying you on purpose. Their mind is doing it automatically, because emotionally, they're in sync. Psychologists call this mirroring, and it's one of the most powerful unconscious signs of deep emotional connection. When someone mirrors your posture, your tone, even your energy, it means their brain is trying to build rapport. It's saying, I feel safe with you. I want to connect. And when someone's melting inside, when their heart is stirred just by being near you, mirroring becomes almost impossible to control. They're not trying to imitate you. They're resonating with you, like two emotional frequencies syncing up without either person realizing it. If you start to notice these subtle echoes of your own behavior, pay attention. Their heart is responding to yours, whether they're ready to admit it or not. Sign 4. The voice cracks or softens around you. They're mid-sentence, and suddenly their voice catches, softens, or falters for just a second. Maybe they stumble over their words, or their usual tone shifts into something gentler, more vulnerable. This isn't random. When someone is emotionally affected, the voice is one of the first places it shows. It's tied directly to the nervous system, meaning anxiety, attraction, or even deep longing can physically alter how we speak. A cracked voice, a soft laugh, or a whisper that wasn't there a moment ago. These are signs of emotional exposure. It's as if their body knows what their mind is trying to hide. And if you find that they speak to others one way, but their tone changes just for you, that's a clear sign their feelings run deeper than they're letting on. Because when someone is melting inside, they don't just talk differently, they feel different in your presence, and it slips out in every trembling syllable. Sign 5. Their guard is up. But they let you. In just a little, they're cautious. You can feel it, like there's an invisible wall they've built to protect themselves. Maybe they joke when things get too real. Maybe they keep the conversation light when it starts drifting towards something deeper. But then, out of nowhere, they'll share something personal, a vulnerable detail, a quiet truth they didn't plan to tell you. It slips out like a secret escaping through a crack in the armor. Psychologically, this is a sign of conflicted vulnerability. They're not ready to fully open up, but they can't help giving you glimpses of their inner world. It's their way of saying, I'm scared, but I trust you more than I want to. When someone is emotionally melting in your presence, their defenses don't just fall all at once. They fall in pieces, in pauses, in almost confessions, in eyes that say more than their words. So if they seem guarded, yet somehow always leave the door open just enough for you to peek in, it's not by accident. It's a heart torn between fear and desire, hoping you'll see past the walls and stay anyway. Sign 6. Emotional delays. The text. They rewrite 5 times before sending. They take longer to reply to you, not because they're uninterested, but because every word feels like it matters too much. Behind that delayed message is a storm of overthinking, typing, deleting, rereading what they've written as if the wrong emoji might expose how they really feel. This isn't indifference, it's emotional pressure. Psychology calls it impression management under emotional load. When someone feels deeply, they become hyper-aware of how they're being perceived. So instead of just texting freely, they edit, hesitate, and sometimes go completely silent. Not because they don't care, but because they care too much. If you notice they respond differently to you than they do to others, if they seem oddly careful with their words or strangely distant online but present in person, it's a sign of inner conflict. Because when someone is melting inside, even a simple message can feel like a confession, and they'd rather hold back than risk saying too much, too soon. Sign 7. Their presence lingers, even in absence. You keep bumping into them, not by accident, but almost like fate. They're around, not in an obvious way, but just enough for you to notice. A shared space, a casual question in a group chat, a comment that feels meant just for you. What you're feeling is emotional orbiting, a psychological pattern where someone who can't express their feelings directly still finds subtle ways to stay close, to remain in your world without crossing the line. Their name comes up, their shadow appears in places you didn't expect. It's not manipulation, it's longing, quiet, careful, and unresolved. And even when they're not physically there, you still feel them in songs and memories and moments where something reminds you of nothing in particular except them. When someone is truly melting inside, their presence doesn't fade when they leave the room. It lingers. It echoes. Because some connections are so deep, even silence can't drown them out. The twist. when they don't even realize they're melting inside. Here's the surprising truth. Sometimes the person melting inside doesn't even fully realize it yet. Their subconscious emotions rush ahead of their conscious mind, spilling out in these little signs long before they can put their feelings into words. They might deny it to themselves, convince their mind to stay calm, or even push you away. But their body doesn't lie. So next time you notice these signs, remember, you're witnessing something fragile and powerful. A heart quietly breaking down its own walls, sometimes before the person themselves is ready to admit it. And that silent, invisible melting, it's one of the most beautiful and vulnerable things you'll ever see. Hidden emotions can be the most powerful kind, the ones that don't shout but whisper. When someone melts inside near you, their silence says more than words ever could. Learning to see these subtle signs is like unlocking a secret language of the heart, one that few notice but everyone feels. Have you ever caught these signs in someone, or maybe in yourself? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear what you've experienced. If you found this video insightful, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a deep dive into the psychology of love and connection. And stay tuned for our next video. 5 tiny signs someone is secretly fighting their feelings for you. You won't want to miss it.